Symmetry is everywhere, in nature and in art. We tend to like it. Perhaps it makes things easier for us to understand. Perhaps it gives us the order we crave so much in our random and unpredictable world. In music, symmetry manifests in many forms. And in this piece you're about to hear, it is the central concept that holds everything together. The music begins with an unassuming introduction with broken chords in the piano, followed by the violin melody comprised of two notes ascending by a step. The next phrase of the melody, also two notes, but this time descending by a step, lands on the same note as the first phrase. The following two phrases are expanded, now each comprising of three notes, an ascending phrase followed by a descending phrase, both times landing on the same note as before, the A. For the rest of the piece, this A becomes the center which the melody revolves around. Each time the melody comes back, it expands by one note, appearing as a pair of phrases. The first starting from notes below the A, and the second starting from the notes above the A. The effect is a gradual expansion of the pitch collection, presented melodically in a slow and calm stepwise motion. And this is how symmetry is created in the music, with alternating ascending and descending scales reflecting off each other on the A, the center of symmetry, just like a mirror. In fact, the name of this piece, Spiegel im Spiegel, which means mirror in mirror, refers to an infinity mirror that reflects an image endlessly. As each image is reflected once more in the mirror, it appears more distant, possibly represented by how each successive phrase is elongated with an expanded range and duration, signifying greater distance covered by the notes. The music therefore unfolds almost like an inevitable process, similar to some of the process music in early minimalism. It was composed in 1978 by Arvo Pärt, an Estonian composer often associated with the minimalist style. Pärt spent his early years writing music aligned with modernism, often employing surrealist, aleatoric, and collage techniques, giving him the status as one of the leading avant-garde composers of his time. However, he took a decade-long hiatus from composing and began writing music around the late 1970s in a completely new style known as Tintina Bully. From the Latin word for a bell, Tintina Bully is a technique that essentially features two lines of music, or two voices, one of which being the melodic voice, or the M voice, and the other being the tintinnabuli voice, or the T voice. The M voice is free melodically and can generally involve any note from the diatonic scale, whereas the T voice is strictly based on the tonic triad, and in the case of Spiegel in Spiegel, the F major triad. These two voices generally follow a note-against-note relationship, meaning for each melodic note, there is a corresponding tintinnabuli note. How the notes are determined depends on the M voice and a predefined relationship between the two voices. This relationship is then maintained throughout the piece and strictly followed once the parameters are set. In most of Pärt's other pieces, the two voices typically appear together in a homorhythmic manner. However, here the Tintina Bully voice is delayed by half a bar, creating an echo effect. Additionally, it shifts across different octaves, alternating above and below the violin melody. This resembles reflections of sound across registers and may symbolize mirrors and the idea of symmetry, where each note below is balanced by a corresponding note above. In a broader sense, the technique of Tintina Bully relates to both the musical aesthetics of that time and the composer's artistic trajectory. It adheres to strict rules akin to the rigidity of serialism, but also contrasts against musical complexities with simple material and transparent textures that are relatively easy to comprehend. The reductionist approach in this style reflects Pärt's philosophy for creation. As an Orthodox Christian who is heavily influenced by chant music, Pärt practices what he calls spiritual fasting, the deliberate pursuit of simplicity and space for prayerful concentration. In reference to the two voices in Tintina Bully, Pärt uses different metaphors to describe how he understands the melodic voice and corresponding Tintina Bully voice. In a general sense, the melodic voice is one that is more complex, fluid, and subjective. The Tintina Bully voice is simple, stable, and objective. Pärt even refers to the former as one's sins, and the latter as forgiveness. This kind of duality is further captured in Spiegel as a kind of reflection, both in the physical and metaphysical sense. The objectivity of how the music unfolds in such a formulaic manner meets the subjectivity of the space, an invitation for the listener to contemplate in their personal way. For me, it is the intrinsic order created by symmetry that gives the music a calming sense of predictability. Every time the melody goes up or down, we know exactly what comes next. And with each expanding phrase, we know that the phrases will get longer. And no matter where we go, we end up where we started. To the A, the center of symmetry. It is as though after a long and tedious search for the answers we so desire, we realize that we've already had the answer from the start. When Pärt talks about Tintina Bully, he refers to it as something that came after years of searching, but when he finally found it, it was also a gift for him. Perhaps if we take a step back from the bizarre world we live in, listen to this piece and contemplate our experience, we will also find a gift amidst the chaos, offered by the space, order, and symmetry.